It's the first Kaijusaurus Podcast of 2018. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hope your ear was lovely, and hope this year is at least bearable.
Yeah.
How was your New Year?
It was nice, yeah. Went to visit Laura and I's, not Laura and I's, but the parents of myself and the parents of Laura, and then went to a friend's house and had some drinks, played board games and stuff. It was fun. Yeah.
Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. I was out in the town. I told you this. Well, I won't tell you the exciting story, but
I didn't ask. The listeners didn't ask.
I think the listeners did ask, and the listeners want to know about the really drunk Canadian man that I helped off the street because he was asleep in the rain.
Are you listening?
He was asleep in the rain at 5 a.m. I know you're a listener.
You recognised Roz.
Do you have any goals for the year?
Yeah, but if I talk about them, I'll just get depressed because then they're public knowledge.
Then we'll be held accountable.
Yeah, then I'm accountable.
Oh yeah, that's true. No, I hate telling people what I'm up to. Like, it's something I do all the time. Like, for everything, you know, I tell people like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then none of it ever happens.
Whereas I tell no one anything because of a crippling fear that I won't do it.
Well, that's it.
Then I have to
at the very least, if
explain
you
why.
don't tell them, then you know you can just get away with it.
Yeah.
But this is the year where all changes. I hope you, dear listeners, as well, are going to achieve everything you set out to do.
Indeed.
Make your bed, do more washing, clean those dishes right away, rather than letting them stew in filth.
Yeah, you got dishes waiting for you at your flat.
I've done, my dishes were all done, and all my washing was done when I began the year, and it has steadily declined since. Started on a high note, going down.
Well, if one of your New Year aspirations was to hear us talk about Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S, then you are in luck!
Welcome to the Kaijusaurus Podcast.
You want to try it?
In which a lifelong fan watches and reviews each of the 30 plus Godzilla film franchise canon films with friend, newbie, good all-round boy, Roz Menzies.
And I'm here too.
And Steven's here.
Steven Sloss.
Steven Sloss.
Ross is clean shaven today.
I am clean shaven.
I've not seen you clean shaven in a fair bit of time.
A fair wee bit. Yeah, no, I've normally been a beard boy, but I've shaved up for a thing I'm doing that I cannot talk about.
Oh, right.
That's for I'm an extra in something, so I need to be clean shaven for it.
Cool.
Keep your eyes on television for next year, folks.
I won't give any hints because of confidentiality, but all I'm saying is Coronation Street.
I am the long lost Les. No, what's the family name?
There are many families in Coronation Street. There's the Battersbys. There's the
Barlow. I'm the lost Barlow.
Barlows.
I'm a lost Barlow.
There's the Baldwins.
Well, I mean, it's this new right.
There's the McDonald's.
Yes, not to give it away, but it is for Toho's Coronation Street.
Shin Coronation Street.
Shin Street.
Anyway, we are here today to discuss with you 2003's Godzilla Tokyo S.O.S.
What year was it made? 2003?
I just said 2003.
Yeah, you did.
Directed by... Oh, wait, no.
No, carry on.
No, don't fucking let me... You know what?
What?
This is how it's going to be, then... It's going to be a really long episode.
Oh, really? I think this is going to be a long episode.
Because you know what? That's actually a good thing. Because I was worried it was going to be a very short one. Because, skipping ahead a wee bit here, but I don't have a lot to say about this film.
Well, we'll find something. We'll dig around.
Directed by Masaaki Tezuka. This is his third Godzilla film. He previously directed Godzilla vs. Megaguirus and the previous entry, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which introduced us to this latest incarnation of Mechagodzilla, Kiryu, who is back.
He's back.
And let me tell you,
that beloved personality of Kiryu, that famous attitude of Kiryu is back.
He's back, and he's ready to fucking
be a robot.
Yeah.
So
that was That should be the tagline for the film. He's back, and let me tell you, he's fucking ready to be a robot.
Felt like 6 ellipses. He's ready to be a robot.
Anyway, this film brings back Mothra again, last seen 2 films ago in Shusuke Kaneko's GMK. Brings back Showa series stalwart Hiroshi Koizumi, reprising his role as Chujo from the original Mothra movie, directed by our old pal Ishiro Honda. And this, along with Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, forms a duology.
Yeah, well, that's nice. It's created like a little shared universe with Mothra and incorporated that in. I haven't seen that Mothra though, have I?
The original Mothra is a delight.
Yeah, I would
it's
like
a
to
really,
give that a shot.
It's a really lovely film. Probably one of the best kaiju films, I would say.
You know, you'd be so bold. In your humble opinion.
God, that's it.
That's it. I was right.
This has been the Kaijusaurus Podcast.
My name's Roz Menzies,
and I'm here to say
I like Godzilla in a major way.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Do you
Should we
want
do a wee quick synopsis?
Knock yourself out, pal.
So, to the best of my ability.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's hear it.
So, we return to the Japanese self-defense forces, where Mechagodzilla, who we previously had in the last film, is not doing so well. We do open the film on Shujo, an older gentleman with his nephews, or maybe even his great-nephews, in my opinion.
Uncle Chujo.
Uncle Shujo, yeah, that's it. But anyway, they are visited by the Shibin. No, not the Shibin, the Peanut Sisters, what are they called? The Shibin, that's a steak restaurant.
Shibin is a steak restaurant in Edinburgh. We've had this exact discussion, like, fucking, I don't know, maybe probably a year ago or something.
Probably like multiple times. The Shihabin. No, what are they called? The Shibit. They're not named in the film. They're just called the sisters or the twins.
The Shobijin.
The Shobijin.
Shobijin.
The Twisted Sisters.
I mean, sure. In this translation we watched, they're translated as the fairies.
The fairies.
Which
that's it.
is dumb.
Nah,
but
the
whatever.
Shobijin.
And they're originally played in the 60s by the Peanuts.
That's right. That's
identical
right.
twin pop duo.
For some reason, I just
But no one in here.
For some reason, I just assumed it was them, and then, like the characters they played, they've just stayed immortal and ageless, and can still
and diminutive.
Yeah, and diminutive, and can play the same roles 50 years later.
So Chujo.
Am I doing this or are you doing this, Stephen? I think I'm doing this.
I'm starting to question it. Are you doing it?
Right. So, Mr. Chujo has a young nephew and a slightly older nephew, and the nephew is a crew member, a mechanic of the Mechagodzilla team. He has a crush on one of his contemporaries who has graduated to the rank of Mechagodzilla pilot, alongside one of his rivals who is now also a pilot, and there's a wee bit of a very loose love triangle, a wee bit of threatening back and forth there. Yeah. Anyway, the family is visited by the Shibijin, Sirens of Mothra, who have a relationship with the older gentleman, because he's the guy from the first Mothra, and he hung out with Mothra and all them a wee while ago, and they have loads of backstory, loads of history, and they went through some shit together. So when he sees them, he knows this is serious business.
Yeah,
so then the Shibijin explain that because Mechagodzilla is built from the bones of the original 1950s Godzilla, that means that his body, his spirit is not at rest, and he needs to be put to the sea to properly rest. And until that happens, things are in flux. There's a greater chance of another monster attack, and there's a greater chance of Mothra returning to sort of set things right.
To declare war on humanity.
Yes, indeed. Unless things go back to normal, and that's still quite a threat there. Do what I say, or I'll start a war with you. I'll destroy. Oh, I guess that's how wars go.
How very timely. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So then Godzilla comes back, and Mechagodzilla fights.
God, he sure does.
He sure does. Help me out,
You're not. Well, you know what? To be honest,
That's about it.
that's about it, because from this point onwards, nothing much really happens. Godzilla shows up, and when Godzilla shows up, that is him right through to the end of the film.
Well, that's it. I mean, it doesn't. It picks up pretty quickly.
A huge monster carcass washes ashore. Amoeba
That Godzilla has killed.
that's killed.
previously.
Yeah. Fucking then Godzilla shows up, and
That's
then
it.
Mothra, Chujo's younger great nephew recreates the symbol of Mothra in a school grounds, and that summons Mothra. Mothra shows up, fights Godzilla, but Mothra is becoming severely weakened. Chujo the Elder recognizes that Mothra is using its scaled weapon, which means it's going to die.
Right.
It's its final weapon. Mothra, like in most films it appears in, doesn't have a good time here, really.
No.
So the Prime Minister, sensing Mothra is actually laying down her life for mankind, says, "Nah, we're not going to let Mothra die alone. Fucking
Get in there,
Get-
Mika G.
get him in there. Just
Send
fucking
in the lads.
send him right in amongst it.
Get in there, boy.
Dispatch the lad." So
That's what we say when we start the podcast. We dispatch the lads.
So so Mecha Lad is dispatched, and he's sent off to fucking
Sitting amongst them.
right fucking take him aside and set about him.
Aye. Give them a big hoofed.
At which point on Infant Island, the Shobijin are performing their ritualistic Mothra song, and two
Top in the
Mothra-
charts.
two
They're
Mothra
chart topping summoning.
two Mothra larvae hatch from an egg and fucking douche their way to the mainland.
Mothra's large sons.
And her bulky sons.
Her turdy sons.
Oh, Ross, that's a bit lowbrow.
I know it's true.
Come on.
I officially resign.
And so it all culminates in an S.O.S. in Tokyo.
I know, save our souls.
And Mothra's fucking going, "So when you hear me, darling, can't you know?" And I fucking fucked up the lyrics there. Anyway, and so it's the Mothra family and Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla. Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, Tokyo, S.O.S.
They all fight.
Mothra dies.
Yeah, he gets
Explosion.
incinerated by G-Boy.
The
G-Boy classic.
The Mothra larva, a la 1964's Mothra versus Godzilla, Cocoon Godzilla in webbing, which I imagine feels very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
He's it's icky.
Yeah.
Godzilla's all ickied out.
Chujo the
younger.
mid.
The mid, aye.
Chujo the mid ends up going inside Kiryu, just like Akane in the last film.
Doing some
to
last
do
minute
some
repairs.
but he can't get back out because the hatch he came into is broken. So he's stuck inside Kiryu. At this point, Kiryu becomes sentient again. It has its own free will. It's
Just before the final blow is
exactly.
struck.
But this time it doesn't go berserk. It chooses to take Godzilla out into the deep ocean, and there they remain, Ross.
That's it.
To
Crashes
this day.
down to the water.
Yeah.
And there was never another Godzilla film.
And Chujo's saved. Chujo the mid is saved
By his rival.
yeah, and it's all very heartwarming. Well, it would be if they actually bothered to develop any characters in this
Yeah.
film.
Well, but yeah, I mean, it really doesn't fuck about. In out. Doesn't fuck about.
It's sure. Yeah, Ross, what do you think of this film?
Yeah, it doesn't fuck about. They set up some characters really
I'm
quickly.
pretty sure you said the exact same thing last
No,
time.
I did.
In and out, doesn't fuck about.
Yeah, no, exactly. And they do it again, but like twice as hard. You know, right? You know what it's like? It's like when you do musical chairs, and then in the last round, it's like 10 times the speed.
It's fucking mental. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just going.
Yeah,
Like it's.
yeah, that's how I describe this movie. Just fucking fires through. Here's some guys. Here's Godzilla. Oh shit, here he is. It's one big fight. Normally there's like 3 all split up. The fight begins like 25 minutes into the movie, and then the fight is the whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas last time I complemented the fact that while they were like sort of thinly drawn characters, there was enough to keep you going
Sure.
through what was quite a sharp wee Godzilla adventure. This doesn't have that same benefit of the doubt.
Absolutely
this really
not.
is just like
It's nothing but a poorer retread of the previous movie
yeah, I would say so.
with Mothra.
Yeah, well, that's it with Mothra in it. It's basically just like hot air. It's like a really sugary cake that's not got that substance. Where's the sponge? Where's the sponge? It's like a cake of just icing. Honestly, I mean, it's not a fucking terrible film by any stretch of the imagination. It's not an egregiously bad film in any way. There's certainly some things I liked here and there, but it really just doesn't do much. It really doesn't have anything new to say, or it doesn't even do anything with its characters. What I did like was the relationship between Kiryu the elder and his younger nephew. There are some really touching moments there, but again, just not enough. We really don't know too much about them.
I think the Chujo, the protagonist Chujo, Yoshio Chujo, I think.
That's it, yeah.
I think, God, he's dull.
Oh,
he's really boring. I mean, it doesn't help that we got a fucking send-off scene with Akane,
Yeah.
the protagonist of the last movie, who was fucking great. Our first lady.
And we had something to build off of with that. We could have taken
Yeah.
her further. I mean, and her relationship with Mechagodzilla was just way more interesting.
Yeah.
And her relationship, obviously, with other members of the team was really interesting. I mean, she had more of a direct connection to this sort of half human or half Godzilla, half machine, this natural connection to him that they just kind of decided to go, nah, you know what, we'll just focus on.
Chujo's going, I understand Kiryu. I've worked on him.
I'm an emotionless wreck as well.
You're not the only fucking one that's worked on him, are you?
Ah, exactly.
Like, shut up.
You're just a crew member, son. You're too big for your briefs.
I think the most interesting things about this film, unfortunately, are over and done with early.
Yeah.
Like, its connections to Mothra, the movie.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting thing to kind of bring in right away.
The idea of, the legacy that, that Chujo the eldest was there when Mothra first attacked Tokyo in the 60s, and now, so he is someone who can actually warn of the consequences again, and what might very well happen again. But again, this is a film that I feel like a lot of the 90s movies sets up a lot of tantalizing prospects and doesn't deliver on them. Like, if you don't put Kiryu to rest, Mothra will declare war on humanity.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Let's see that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, obviously, it would swing around again at the end that Mothra ends up fighting on behalf of mankind, but, for a bit...
keep us on our toes.
Yeah. What if we had Godzilla and Mothra, the nightmare scenario that they discussed in the movie, Godzilla and Mothra, showing up at the same time and just fucking...
wrecking the place.
Yeah, and then Kiryu is dispatched,
but
gets totally fucking...
wrecked.
Yeah.
And you need to get Mothra on side, which involves a trip to Infant Island or some shit, or like doing something for the Shibabajib.
Oh, Ross.
The Shibabajib.
The gals.
The two small twins.
Okay.
So, one of the more compelling parts of the movie, and it is earlier on, is in the first invasion sequence where Godzilla returns to the shores. There's a mass evacuation. There's a really funny half-second clip where a bunch of monks, or whatever, drop all their scrolls down a flight of stairs. I had a wee chuckle at that. But the nephew, the younger boy, is fleeing out of his school, but he seems to be doing something. He's lugging desks and tables around crowded, evacuating streets while his grandpa goes out to look for him. Yeah. They reunite just as Godzilla sort of, they're right in the epicenter of all of this. But we realise that the younger boy has made out of his school tables, chairs, the Mothra symbol to summon him. And that's a really interesting part where you have like this grandfather's legacy, this thing he's been involved with sort of affecting this younger generation in a way that they were really on board with. The son does that right off his own back. He understands the importance of this, and most importantly, he believes in it, believes in this sort of promise and myth of Mothra. And again, I mean, honestly, the relationship between the older man and his nephew is probably one of the more interesting parts.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it doesn't really go anywhere after that. They're injured in some rubble shortly after. Shujo rescues him, and then they spend the rest of the movie in a tent recovering.
Yeah.
They have a wee, the grandpa says some meaningful bullshit at the end. I can't remember exactly what.
Life is to be lived within the time that nature allows.
Yes, don't you know? Don't mess about with the good Lord's work. But beyond that, you are stuck with Shujo, who falls into some of the usual, we've had love triangles, we've had like or like lower level person coming up in the sort of G-Force squad or something like that. It just doesn't do a single thing with him.
No, it doesn't.
Just runs around, he mopes, complains. He's just not hugely compelling.
No wonder nobody really likes you.
Exactly. Not even Mechagodzilla likes you. Chucked you out.
It's a shame because, after Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which was a great setup for, this sort of this sort of world that they've made with Toho monsters. They do go out their way to sort of establish a sense of some sort of wider world out there. Monsters are part of the universe, etc., etc. This film really should have raised a lot of the stakes, but even, for example, it just doesn't. And I think maybe a good illustration of that is the fact that the Absolute Zero cannon, Kiryu's mega super weapon from the last film, for some reason they've written into this film that's damaged. We can't use it. So downgrade it to lasers. Great. Shooting out of.
And didn't they already establish that the maser lasers didn't work on Godzilla in the last film? Yeah, but now they do.
And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You need to actually up
the ante, up the stakes, bigger weapons. I mean, that's it basically. It just doesn't really up the stakes, raise the ante, change.
It's not enough to just bring back Mothra.
Yeah.
Who, we only saw 2 films ago.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, Mothra, I've not seen her in like fucking a decade or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah,
two
and that was and again, because you don't have the same sense of scale and stakes, and you don't even really have that much of a ramp up to these fights. It's a pretty fine fight. It takes a while. It's just whereas the what was it? The 2 films ago, the long title one, GMK. That I loved that, and that was one where I actually had a lot to say about the monster fighting rather than it was cool. Which I normally end up just saying like, it looked good. That's about it.
Whereas
whereas this really is just a fight. Props to the special effects team.
It's fine. It's not particularly dynamic. It's not
compelling.
Incredibly short. It's not compelling. It's That's
it.
And it doesn't help that comprises probably about, I don't know,
50 minutes.
The whole second half of the movie.
Yeah, really. I mean, once Shujo confirms that he will return to the Mechagodzilla crash site where Mechagodzilla has been knocked to the ground and go back in and repair him, and he seems to be the only one for the job. That was starting to get interesting. He goes in, he does the repairs, realizes that he is stuck inside and cannot get out, and instead of letting his colleagues know that could possibly waste time, resigns himself to staying inside Mechagodzilla, helping where he can and accepting his fate. That was where things started to get a wee bit more interesting to me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he realizes the real importance of the warning of the little small twins, and takes that to heart and realizes the importance of their message and the importance of retiring Mechagodzilla, of returning him to the water when all of this is done. And from there, you do at least get a wee bit of a connection between him and Mechagodzilla, which really you only get at the very end when the door is blasted open of Mechagodzilla around so that he can fall out of the hole onto his rival's grasp.
Yes.
Trying to rescue him from the air, and then he looks up and you see inside Mechagodzilla one of the screens says "Sayonara, Yoshito," or yes, got his name right, nailed it. that again was pretty interesting because you have this little flicker of life and recognition from Mechagodzilla, which is really the more tantalizing element of the last film. This idea that Mechagodzilla kind of had this muscle memory and a life of his own, which at least the last film kind of touched on and built on, but this one again just kind of lets flop wet on the floor.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like a lot of the concepts that are brought up in this film, they don't go far enough with them. Like, I think, I don't know, maybe for the entire finale of this movie, Kiryu should have went like fully sentient and fought of its own accord.
Yeah, introduce like a rogue element, a new element. That doesn't want to return. It doesn't want to rest. Something like that.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help that it's a direct sequel, but it gets rid of this great little fun ensemble that we had in the last film.
The dad, the daughter,
exactly. Yeah. I think the only returning characters are Akane in a cameo.
Yeah. Which is a good scene, but
the Prime Minister and his boys.
Yeah.
And I think the one scientist near the start. Yeah. But it's so minor and throwaway. It's just a scientist that's saying, "Oh, I can't fix the absolute zero."
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's like, okay,
sure, great, welcome back.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that's it. I mean they had these elements at play. It would have been nice for them to stick with them and to use them again. But they kind of just, like you said, end up retreading old ground. Musically, I do always appreciate hearing the Mothra song, which is always grand.
This is true, yeah.
And it was a particularly good rendition of it. But I also really like just the little Mothra refrain that's used as a sort of leitmotif throughout the movie. I can't do it with my voice. Feel free to do it, Stephen.
No.
I'm also a fan of the sort of triumphant, brassy G-Force motif that plays a lot when we return to the base or people do something heroic. So a few nice wee musical cues there. I don't know if this film had a kind of, sort of a strong theme of its own. I can't remember.
Well, it's all of Masaaki Tezuka's Godzilla films have sort of had very similar music and even some same themes. Which brings me on to something I was going to say and I think I mentioned this previously, but now that you've seen all of his films, I think obviously it'll be more relevant to you now and you can comment on it. I think there's certainly a case to be made that Masaaki Tezuka, with his 3 films, kept remaking his previous film.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly something there. It just doesn't go much further out than that is the issue.
Exactly.
It kind of all stays in the same wheelhouse.
A lot of Megaguirus crops up in Against Mechagodzilla. New super weapon. Young female protagonist in this special anti-Godzilla force with a lot to prove, has been indirectly responsible for a disaster, the death of a comrade or a commanding officer, and then has to work back up to prove herself, eventually facing Godzilla.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's it.
That's in Megaguirus. That's then carried over to Against Mechagodzilla. Again, done much better in Mechagodzilla than in Megaguirus, but the point still stands. And then, like I said earlier, Tokyo S.O.S. unfortunately does play something like
a retread,
an inferior retread of the previous movie.
Because I mean, last time I was pleasantly very much into the first Against Godzilla, Against Mechagodzilla.
Because we spoke about it a lot in that it was a very straightforward, simple movie, just rockets along, but that was not to its detriment. That was it's actually one of its strengths. It did feature archetypal characters, but that was fine. They did a lot with them, and the film was in and out, didn't fuck about.
Yeah, that's it.
But whereas what we get with this film is the exact same. I always picture, for example, franchise lineage. I always picture it like beeps on a heart monitor. Like you can imagine, fucking Against Mechagodzilla just has a little rise, a little beep, but then SOS just comes along and is just the exact same, if not smaller.
That's it.
Where it should be
half of a flat line. Yeah, it should be a beep.
Yeah.
That should shock you or do something different or just change it up or just take us to a different place.
Exactly.
Or just continue the story that we started with. Yeah, I mean, That's really all I've got to say about it.
I don't have a lot to say about this film either.
Why don't we talk a little bit about what we could have done differently?
Well, what I was going to say is that, okay, the film has a post-credits stinger.
That's right.
In which it takes place in a mysterious
Biolab.
biochemistry, whatever lab, which has a sampling of Godzilla DNA. Now, whatever that means, sure, it's open to interpretation. But this story obviously did stay as a two-part story, a duology. It never became a trilogy, or never really got rounded off from that tease. But a while ago, when I was still running the Tumblr blog, I pitched a third part.
Oh, did you?
A conclusion to the narrative. And so we had Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Then we had Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, Tokyo S.O.S. So my pitch for the third part was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla.
Ooh.
God save us all.
Ooh.
And so my pitch was basically going off of that stinger. Godzilla and Kiryu have disappeared into the ocean. They're gone. They've been gone for a good number of years, 5 years or so. And Mothra is also gone. She's just living her best life on Infant Island.
Aye, she's doing her.
She's done.
Aye.
She's fine. But, Japan's in need of a new anti-monster, anti-Godzilla weapon. And what's better than killing monsters than Godzilla? So they create their own Godzilla.
Using his DNA.
Using the DNA, they create a clone of Godzilla, which, they think they have under their control. Anyway, so this clone, which in my mind would be visually identical to the original 54 Godzilla.
Right, okay.
Is first dispatched when Japan is under siege by two sort of humanoid monsters called the Gargantuas, who featured in a 60s Toho film which starred Russ Tamblyn, The War of the Gargantuas. Sanda and Gaira, the brown Gargantua and the green Gargantua, two sort of like humanoid Bigfoot-esque monsters. They were referenced in the previous film. So they attack Japan, and the Godzilla clone is dispatched. But much like during Kiryu's first dispatch, things go wrong. Very quickly. It doesn't even really put up a pretense of being on
Their side.
the side of the angels. It just very quickly, it's Godzilla.
Yeah, turns around, starts kicking buildings.
What they've done is just make a Godzilla.
Yeah.
And as destructive and as apocalyptic as the original 50s monster.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it seems to have some sort of hold over the Gargantuas. Who sort of recognise it as a more powerful, more dominant creature, and so end up aligning themselves with it. Flash forward, say, another 5 years, 10 years maybe, and this Godzilla clone and the Gargantuas hold an obliterated Japan under siege.
Oh, cool. So we return to our characters and see how they're doing as well.
It's a no man's land, but there's the resistance and stuff underground with familiar characters, like bring back the good characters like Akane and the little ragtag team of scientists are working on a solution and stuff. So they're working on a solution to try and retake the country, etc. Japan's walled off from the rest of the world. We don't want anything to do with that. We don't want these monsters coming to the rest of the world. You're on your own.
Yeah, almost like the rest of the world's just put out this blockade around it.
Exactly. So the Godzilla clone and the Gargantuas have Japan under siege until out of Tokyo Bay come Godzilla and Kiryu. Allies with Kiryu completely sentient.
Right, okay.
So they come out of Tokyo Bay after 10-15 years as allies.
And it's like rusted and seaweeded. Oh, that'd be cool.
And they take them on.
Yeah.
And Godzilla against Mechagodzilla against Godzilla.
That would have been cool.
For the fate of Japan.
Oh, see, again, that honestly, just take it somewhere. Go somewhere with it.
And go big.
Yeah.
Do something, huge with it. They set up so many of these themes of, to quote one of the final lines of Mechagodzilla 93, life against artificial life. That is one of the themes in this film.
But it just doesn't do much with the concept.
Run with it, yeah.
Take it a place, I think you're right.
So that was my pitch. What's yours, Roz?
So mine's a romantic comedy. It stars Sarah Jessica Parker. No.
A romantic comedy between Akane and Kiryu, the only man she'll ever
Well,
love.
that's it. I mean, it really just would be great to see more Akane, see more of that direct relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, have Akane almost like still holding a candle out for Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
Like, if you want, like, obviously to do something with the human characters, have her be involved in trying to like reawaken or like, you know, reach back out to Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. But yeah, I mean that's the element where there's a more potent relationship. So anything that I would have done with this film differently probably would have just had Akane take a return.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a case of the actress wasn't available,
Yeah, maybe.
or if it was just a conscious decision to have a new protagonist. But what were you thinking?
Aye, lads.
Like, just it's a great character, and then at the start of this film, you ship her off to America.
Aye, and send her off, and yeah.
Things I do like about this film is I think Mothra in both larva and adult stage. I think Mothra looks great.
Oh yeah, Mothra's good.
Mothra really looks good. Combo of practical puppet and CGI. The CGI for Mothra looks really good. The Mothra larva look good as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get them wrong, to be
No,
fair.
it's
But
true.
yeah, Godzilla's looking all right as well. Same as previous appearance, except with a big old scar on his
Yeah.
chest. And yeah, Kiryu's the same as well.
That's it. Can't go wrong. With
And Kiryu's
Mothra.
also there.
Kiryu's there too.
See, the thing is, you say you can't go wrong with Mothra, but I remember when this film was first announced in, like, probably would have been early 2003, and you know, Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, Tokyo, so there's just people going, Mothra again?
Yeah, fair. I mean, it's certainly a lesser Mothra appearance than some of our other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand that sentiment at least. I mean, so what is the general consensus with this film?
I think it's got a mixed reception. I think a lot of people really like it. I think a lot of people feel they feel
Same
the
way
way
as
that we
us.
do. I don't dislike this
No,
film.
not at all.
I find it boring.
It's just, I would walk past it on the street and ignore it. It's just, it does nothing for me.
But not meet the whites of its eyes.
Yes. No eye
It's-
contact.
It's
Yeah.
It is what
It's
it
a
is.
shrug of a film.
It is a bit. It is
It's
a bit. Yeah.
It's a sigh of a film. It's a shrugging sigh.
It's much more Megaguirus than it is against Mechagodzilla,
Yes.
I think, unfortunately. And yeah, it's forgettable, isn't it? I'm never gonna say, you know, I'm glad the series ended soon after this. But, you know, if this was maybe an indication that, you know, this Millennium series did have plenty of highs and lows. To my mind, at least, and you enjoyed it as well, if I remember right, it got off to a brilliant start with Godzilla 2000.
Yeah.
Then it did kind of nosedive with Megaguirus, which was a financial and critical disaster.
Yeah. And then kind of recovering since.
Then recovered a lot with GMK,
Uh-huh.
which completely revitalized the franchise and interest in it and stuff. Against Mechagodzilla came along.
That's an entry.
Sure, yeah. Maybe not, you know, the blistering blockbuster that the franchise maybe needed. Maybe what we needed then was a big runaway success. Excuse me. But, you know, a decent solid entry that shows that good Godzilla films can still be made. And Tokyo S.O.S. comes along and it's like,
Plods along.
okay,
Sure.
maybe it's an indication that it's time to take time off and work out what you want to do with the character and the franchise and iron these things out and then come back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about Tokyo S.O.S. I think it's a very inoffensive film, but that's
Yeah.
not one of its strengths. It's very inexceptional.
Yeah.
There's very little memorable
It's
about
a middle
it because,
child.
there's not even like, you know, a great moment in the
Yeah,
fight, for
that's
example. Like, there's a scene where like Kiryu flips Godzilla over its shoulder, back over its shoulder, but it's sort of like
Yeah, there's not even.
it's not particularly dynamically.
any blood.
It's not particularly dynamically shot.
No.
It's Tezuka was a very safe choice in direction, and you know that's not what a franchise always needs,
No.
unfortunately.
Especially not a sequel.
Well, exactly.
You don't.
Yeah, uh-huh.
You don't want a pedestrian sequel. You want a bold sequel.
This is very true. So that's Godzilla. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? S.O.S.
Yeah. Cool. So,
So, Ross, my little lad.
yes, Papa.
Up next, we have the final film of this Millennium series. The 50th anniversary movie, 2004. 1954 to 2004. Under the direction of Ryuhei Kitamura, we have Gojira Final Rozo, Godzilla Final Wars.
Oh, that sounds interesting. A 50th anniversary special.
Interesting is the word for it. It's
okay. Don't obviously I don't want to spoil. I don't want to know more about it. But I mean, would you say it takes us a different place? You're doing a wry smile there, buddy.
I would say it takes us to several places.
Okay. Do you think it's the kind of film that Ross would be into? Do you feel like it ticks his boxes?
I think almost definitely.
I'm very excited about that. Now, this is quite a short episode, I think. I'm sure, obviously, with our announcement last time that we're gonna,
That we're saying fuck off.
that we're getting you to fuck off and do your own shit. That we're wrapping up. I'm sure people would listen to this and kind of be disappointed. 40 minutes, so they're losing their touch. They're giving up. But I don't think it's that. It's honestly, we just didn't have that much to say about this film. You try and talk about this film for 40 minutes.
And it's difficult because, like I said,
I'm not going to listen to you.
Make your own podcast. I won't listen to it, but make your own podcast. That was mean.
That was
Fucking. I don't know. It's not that I particularly dislike this film at all, because I don't dislike it.
No.
It's just, it's never ever going to be a fucking favourite. It's never ever going to creep up on being a favourite.
What's the name of the guy that directed it again?
Masaaki Tezuka.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
I can guarantee you that he does not think about this movie. It doesn't come to him. People ask him, "Hey, what kind of movies have you made?" And he'll oh shit, I forgot. I also made
Tokyo S.O.S.
Tokyo S.O.S. Godzilla. Yes, it is what it be. What it be?
No wonder he'd forget it.
I know, but his other films are good, so you shouldn't forget those.
He's a lovely man.
That's right. I mean, you were telling me last time he
Masaaki.
really is involved in the community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have I just shot our chances of meeting him?
No, because no one listens to this.
You do, dear listener.
Actually, most I joke, but when I followed up the previous episode with our little Facebook post saying that we are ending the show, we got lots of lovely feedback.
Honestly, it really warmed our hearts.
We got a lot of people asking us not to end, or asking us to do
additional episodes,
additional stuff like Gamera or Ultraman or whatever. And it was very validating, because we often joke about the fact that we feel no one listens to this, and
but we know for a fact that people do. When we don't want to belittle you,
all four of you,
we bless you all. Look around the room, we're all in this together. But no, honestly, I mean, a fair few people listen to this, and we do appreciate you passing it on to your friends, and just interacting with us, sending us stuff, sending us messages, enjoying our show, and we're always going to be thankful for that. And like we said last time, we don't want to disappear out of your lives forever.
It's not like we're closing the door on the Kaijusaurus podcast. So,
or other Steven and Ross joints.
Exactly. The best way for me to put it is to use the title of Sean Connery's last Bond movie, the unofficial one, Never Say Never Again.
What's the theme? Sing it.
I don't fucking know. You ruined a poignant moment there.
I made it better. Like we make everyone's lives better.
Do you know the story behind that title?
No, I don't.
Apparently, when Connery first quit the Bond role in this, I'm not up on Bond in the early 70s, I think.
Okay.
He came back for one after Lazenby.
That's right.
I think it was maybe Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever.
Shall I? I think, anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, he was asked at a press conference, will you ever play Bond again? And he said, never again. So they titled the film, Never Say Never Again.
That is quite funny. That is quite clever for an unofficial Bond film. Well, friends, we love you and we shall leave you. We will be back. Don't worry.
We'll be back for the year 2004 with Godzilla Final Wars.
You take care now. Look after yourselves.